Here. Zimmerman.
Here.
Kissinger Wolf.
Here. Roll call completed. We have a quorum. I'm looking for down here. Do the Pledge of Allegiance.
You can do it. Yeah.
Okay. You want to face the flag and do the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I'm looking for a motion for the adoption of the agenda as presented.
I so move.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded. All those three roll call or
Kaufman.
Yes.
Hughesby.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Baloo. Yes. Zimmerman.
Yes.
Kissinger Wolf.
yes.
Rudai.
Okay. We have the adoption of the agenda. We're going to go into public comment. Just a reminder, public comment is a 3-minute time. The board does not make any actions on this, and we are open for any public comment.
Yes, I have public comment. Allison Shantz, TEA, Tomahawk Education Association President. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I have a statement to present on behalf of the Tomahawk Education Association. I'm speaking to you today in my role as an elected representative for educators in our district. As we approach the reopening of schools this fall, the Tomahawk Education Association would like to reaffirm that we are committed to working with district personnel to provide the safest possible learning environment for our students and staff. To that end, we realize there may be some inconveniences in providing this environment, but those inconveniences will help to maintain in-person instruction and provide structure for a healthy environment. Whenever reasonable, we feel all students and staff should wear masks and follow recommended health and safety protocols, such as social distancing, frequent hand washing, etc. The expression, "an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure," rings loud and clear. Whatever we choose to do at our schools in the fall will not completely solve the problem that we face with reopening safely. We do not teach in a bubble. We are instead a reflection of the Tomahawk community. The degree to which we can provide a safe and high quality education as possible, because Tomahawk students deserve nothing less, will depend greatly on the choices that the Tomahawk community makes in the following weeks and months. We all have a common goal of returning to and staying in school in the safest manner possible. And we believe the best way to achieve this goal is through collaboration. As the DPI has brought in members from all stakeholder groups, districts should as well. As a union, we would ask for greater participation in discussions on operating our schools safely for students and staff. This is a fluid situation, and we know that while we create plans, things will change along the way. But the more we work together as administration and staff, the more successful we will be. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
This is Angie Higgins.
Angie Higgins?
Yep, Higgins, Higgins.
Okay, Angie?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I have 2 children in the school district of Tomahawk returning, and I'm reporting because I'm very concerned about the remote learning that's going to be happening. We have addressed, I have brought it to attention of multiple people that we do not have internet access at our home. It's not that we can't get it. It's not that we can't afford it. We cannot get it into our home. We're actually looking at putting in a $2,000 signal booster in our home so that if it does go where my children have to go to virtual learning, we will have the opportunity to do that for them. I wanted to say, first of all, too, that I am very happy with all of the education my children are getting with the school district, and we school choice to Tom for that reason. And I'd like to be part of a solution. I've offered ideas to Mr. Reynolds, and the last time I spoke with him last week, I was told the solution to the internet was going to be we could park at the local town hall and get Wi-Fi off of there and sit in our vehicles. I'm concerned because that's just not an acceptable place for my students to be learning. And I suggested some alternatives such as maybe seeing if the town halls would be open to have small groups, maybe put a pair there, ask parents if they would be willing to volunteer. I know that I certainly could flex my schedule and would be happy to do that as well. I think that I feel that the parents have been left out of these decisions that have been made. And that was the one thing in September or in July when I spoke at the board meeting was that please ask parents to be involved and get that information and keep the communication open. And whenever I sent an email, it was thank you for your information. Thank you, thank you, thank you, but not anything as to what was going on or what was happening to solve this problem. I understand that this is public comment only. It's something that I just want to bring again to the attention of the board, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Are there any other comments out there? Okay. I'm hearing none. Moving on to item 7, consent agenda items. The board had received the consent agenda items and looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda items for resignations, replacement staff, and volunteers. Martin Zimmerman has made the motion. Is there a second?
Johnson, I second.
There's a motion and a second. Corinne, would you take roll call, please?
Kaufman,
Yes.
Hughesby,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Long,
Abstain.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Baloo,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Kissinger Wolf,
Yes. The motion's been made and approved. It becomes 7-1 and 7 and abstain, 1 abstain. Moving on to item 8, the school library program and facility update. We have Paula.
Yep, I'll see you.
Okay.
Paul, I'll hook up your presentation on the screen. See, so Paula Norman's our school librarian and so media specialist, and so she's going to talk a little bit about the highlights of the position, but also kind of update you on what's new in those situations with the new position. So Paula, go ahead. Oops. Paula, do you have a
Thank
mute
you.
on?
I couldn't unmute and I was trying, so sorry about that.
There you go.
So I don't want to bore you with all the library like data and stuff like that, but a few highlights, I guess, from last school year. First of all, I am working on I have 3 years to complete a program, and The new slide deck, Terry, maybe I gave you the wrong link, but it has a before picture. There's a before slide and an after slide show of what the library looks like. That is in between slide 1 and what we have is slide 2 now. So maybe I gave you a different link and it just didn't get updated or whatever. But on the slideshow, I just wanted to point out that I would say that I know it was a very controversial move going into the library program and was a reservation I had when I took the job. But I think overall we made it a very welcoming space. When I surveyed the students who came in and got their feedback, they liked the cozy atmosphere. We made it more of a kind of like a Barnes and Noble, like a coffee shop, coffee house, like just relaxed. They liked the high seating that we had. That was a favorite. And then some like cushier lounge chairs. If you read through the slides, like I said, I don't want to bore you to death with it because library data is kind of boring, but overall, they really liked the feel. And I feel like, yeah, it's a pretty small space. We kind of are at max capacity in there right now. So we really don't have room to buy any more new books or anything like that. And as far as trying to put in shelves, we would have to use the space in there. But overall, I think it was a good transition. In some of the stats, I think we served 5,000 some students came in during the school year. Using it as part of three-tier study hall and some enrichment activities. 461 students came into print. So just a little pie graph to kind of show you what was how much it was used. One of our circulation stats, you will see that 73%, I think somewhere around there, was for electronics or equipment. And that's quite large compared to our middle school and elementary. So on that stat, I just wanted to clarify that a lot of our equipment, like Chromebooks, is cataloged under the high school. So when you see high school checkouts, even though it might have been for an elementary student or middle school student, if it has a high school sticker on it, it gets charged to the high school. So that's why you will see a really, really big disparity between equipment checkout of about 3% at the middle school and high school, or middle school and elementary level versus I think it was like 70 some percent in the high school. But overall, my goal was to make all 3 libraries a warm, welcoming place and to build relationships. And I feel like we accomplished that this year. Yeah, I just put in different pictures from the slideshows to show you how the buildings were used. I was able to maintain all the programming the previous librarian Peg Billing had started, and even got involved in some of the enrichment time, doing some sewing with them and crafting. So getting myself involved in there. I got 2 $1,000 grants to start robotics at the middle school and elementary levels. So that would be a highlight there. Our middle school Bob team, the one that we sent to state, came in 21st overall out of a couple hundred teams. So I was very happy about that. And then I'm trying to think, what else did I want to highlight? They always say in your first year in the library, you shouldn't really take on any big weeding projects, but I didn't really have a choice at the middle school and elementary level. Our shelves were so full of books that we couldn't even squeeze in one more on the shelf. And that is really poor library management because books don't circulate then. So months of weeding. And at the elementary level, for 15 years, I learned in library world that everybody kind of has their own system, but all of our spine labels were very different. So during COVID, once it was safe for my paraprofessionals to come into the library, we respined, we changed the spine labels on over 6,000 books. So that was a great outcome of COVID for us because that was a long overdue project. And there's no way that could have happened during the school year had we been in session because it was just a big project. And so that was huge. And then I just wanted to talk about my role once COVID hit because I couldn't teach my classes as normal, but then my role and shifted to helping the educators set up a platform to communicate with their families. And those were some of the trainings I offered on the fly, getting us ready to go into COVID. And then 3 days a week, 2 days a week I met, and then 1 day a week one of my paraprofessionals met with families and did some Chromebook exchanges outside the high school foyer there at the door so that no student was left with a device that wasn't working. We met them on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, made appointments with them, and made sure they had working devices so that they were able to successfully complete their training. And then I just have more goals for myself that I would like to pursue. Then I made a video that I don't want you to watch tonight. It's like 8 minutes long, but just kind of the role of a library media specialist, because I really don't think people really know what my role is in the district. So if you're bored and need something to put you to sleep, maybe you want to watch it before bedtime tonight.
Are there any questions for Paula? Paula, how can we get a hold of the link to the video?
I can send it to all of you board members.
Okay.
It's this part on the presentation where you see those cute little kids. So it's right in this presentation. I'll just send you the link to the whole presentation.
Well, we could just click on that link. Can we click on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions of Paula? Sounds like it was quite the move last year. I'm glad things are working out.
It was quite the year because I'm thankful I had some library experience coming into this because I really truly don't know what I would have done. Yeah, had I not had any library experience and knowing the Destiny software stuff. So, and then I'm going to be, maybe, I don't know how this all works, but I just found out that I wrote a grant over when we were home on COVID in April. And I just found out a week ago, I received a $5,000 grant for our school to start an esports program, which is like a video gaming club. So I've just filled out the paperwork to get that rolling. My intention is, yes, I know we have a lot of screen time. My goal in writing the grant and the whole purpose, though, was that we have sport and music and drama and forensics, but we're missing a part of our school population that's uninvolved. And this would be a way to get them involved. And the $5,000 would be spent on equipment to get us up and running. And Dan Ryder and I will donate our time to get it off the ground. But that came from the Wisconsin library system. It was a grant that I just filled out and was pleasantly surprised to know that I received it. So I'm excited to offer that as part of an extension of our library services.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Sounds quite impressive.
Paula, this is Ron Zimmerman. I'm looking at the chart on page 9 of your information where it's the pie chart. And it says 42% accessed it during 5th hour study hall. This is the high school. Do you have any statistics on how many students in high school or middle school or maybe even elementary actually check books out?
Ron, I can't even hear you right now. I'm
Oh.
sorry, I missed your question. I know you said something about the pie chart, but then I lost you after that.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, much better.
Okay, I got to hold my microphone closer, I guess. I was looking at the pie chart on page 9, the high school LMC, and it says that 42% accessed it during 5th hour, which is for study hall. And then it lists the different parts of the pie chart. And I was wondering, do you have any statistics on how many students in the high school, middle school, or maybe even elementary actually check books out?
Yeah, that's back on some other pages when it says circulations. I want to say back maybe on page maybe 3 or 4, like towards the beginning. Our statistics for checkouts and circulations were higher in every building, and that was only through March. So I compared data from the year before when I wasn't here to this year, and I compared from September 1 to March whatever when our pandemic was. So I compared equal time in school, and all of our circulations in every building were increased over the year prior. We put a lot of work and effort into getting our books circulated. There were a lot of book talks. We put posters on the bathroom since we had a captive audience, and we just put blurbs about every book, that different books that we got in, just to try to get them interested. And I think the more I get to collaborate with teachers, the better it'll be. Like I said, last year was just kind of getting started. Teachers didn't know what to expect from me, and I didn't. I just had to get up and running myself, taking over a new job and learning my role, overseeing 3 buildings. But I'm hoping to blow those stats out of the water this year.
Okay, excuse me, I'm looking at the chart right now that says checkouts from August 1st to March 31st.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one. And it's
Mhm.
got high school is just short of 6,700 total, and just short of 4,900 or 73% were equipment related. What sort of equipment is that? Laptops and stuff like that?
Yep, that's all Chromebooks. And like I said earlier in my presentation, it looks really skewed at the high school level, and that's why I thought that was a good talking point, because all the new Chromebooks we got. So like last year we got 400 new Chromebooks. This school year, this summer, we just got 300 more new Chromebooks. And to keep it consistent, it's all coming in under the high school. We're making the barcodes under the high school. So even though it might be an elementary school student who we're checking the Chromebook out to, it goes under the high school because that's where the barcode, but that's where it's sitting. And it's just a little easier if we have it coming from one building to manage. So that's why the high school data looks a little skewed as far as technology equipment being checked out, but it's mostly Chromebooks.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from the board? Paula, I thank you for your time and your presentation. And
You're welcome.
all your hard work this past year.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 9, the summer capital projects update.
Okay, I have Mike's here to talk a little bit about the capital project list of the summer projects mainly, and what he was able to complete, but also the handout that we have is just an indication where we are with the budget and what the numbers came in at this time. So Mike, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. You guys hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay. Just an update again on our capital projects. This is a breathing document. It changes all the time, but to keep it up to date. Number 1, our rubber roof, replacing number 1 and number 3 roofs above the elementary section. They're about 95% complete. The rubber's on. They're just doing the flashing around the edges this week, so they should be out of here. Again, number 2, sand and recoat the field house floor was done earlier in the year. High school office recarpeted. It's complete. I've got NC there. NC means that we have not received an invoice yet for the project. So it's kind of not complete there. The LED project, the lighting, that's completed. The duct work in the high school area was completed. Infrared, all the patching out in the parking lots and the roadways and the crack filling, that was all completed last week. And again, did not receive an invoice for that work yet. Number 12, replace Victrolic collars and shutoff valves. We estimated 5,000. That came in a little bit higher. When we turn the heating system off in the high school area, they got the rubber gaskets for the Victrolic collars, which holds the two pipes together. And that rubber's wearing out. It's 20 years. So we replaced quite a bit this year. And then, of course, every time we cut into a pipe, we put off shut-off valves at that point. When they built the facility, they'd have one shut-off valve. It would probably shut off the entire science wing all the way down to the middle school wings. So we divided that up into sections. So every time we can cut a pipe apart and get a valve in there, that's just going to save a lot of time. If we do have issues, we're not shutting down an entire building or an entire section to repair it if we are in session. Cafeteria tables are in. The classroom doors, they are not going to get here until October 8th. So we'll pick a date, probably closer to Thanksgiving or in-service day. They'll get those installed. So that's sitting out there yet. Change out the heating system from Apogee to BACnet controls. They will be here next week with a full crew to get that done within a couple days. So that'll be done by the time school starts also. Any questions on the capital projects before I do the football facility or the Hatchet Pride?
Mike, I have one from the original one that you presented, the capital project in January. It's more than doubled for the cost of the high school doors. Can you explain that? In
Yeah,
January,
when we
you had
first
down
looked
19
at
high
that,
school class doors.
yeah, when we first looked at that, we were just looking like 5 to 10 doors, do a little bit at a time. But when the funds showed up, we had the funds to do all of the doors in the long high school section, which is 20 of them. So that's why I think it went from 10 up to 20 because we had the funds to do it all at one time.
Does anyone else have questions on capital budget? It looks like the
Okay.
cost of replacing the LED lights was also under budget from what you originally proposed too. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe it was in January, we were looking at 142,000, I think.
Yes.
And that was just a bid from one contractor. So when we approved the project list, I always go out and get other bids from other contractors. And, we worked with several contractors on this because it was so large. We got the cost down. We got some different fixtures that were a little less expensive. And then we got a huge focus on energy rebate. So that brought that down from 142, I think it was 142 down to 119,000. So we had good savings there. That was a good project.
Great. And what was the stats that you gave us back then that we'd save so much per year with that lighting? Do you remember? We're going to save a lot of money by changing all that lighting over.
Yeah, right offhand, I don't recall.
Okay.
I can get that for you. It's a good amount.
I have in my notes like in 2.5 years there'd be a payback with that change.
It'll be a 2.5 year payback. Yes.
Okay. No questions from the board? Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, and then the Hatchet Pride project. What we're doing this week is landscaping, getting the grass planted. The track will start tomorrow. That should take a week and a half. Our electrical is finished up this week. Next week, we were going to fire up the football lights. They do have one light that was broken. They'll come back and replace that. But next Thursday, Thursday night, we're going to fire the lights up and see what it looks like. We're still shooting for the September 1st deadline. We may have a few odds and ends punch list items after that, but I see tonight there's some kids out there playing on the field, which is good. They're getting a feel for it. So, the Hatchet Pride group did an excellent job. putting this all together, and POB's done a great job of following it through and getting stuff done, and all the contractors, really good contractors to work with, really haven't had any issues whatsoever. So, any questions on that?
Board members, any questions? It looks beautiful out there. Well, thank you, Mike. Appreciate
You're
your time.
welcome.
Moving on to item 10, COVID-19 planning update.
Seems like COVID-19, this story never ends, and it's always changing. And certainly the staff and administrative team, we've all been working very, very hard on a lot of different things, trying to put all the P's and Q's together before school starts officially. And certainly, just like in the public comment, we're trying to work on as much as we can to make things the best we can for the options that we have. And certainly, I know Dean, he's gone out to all the township areas trying to figure out what we can and we can't do. And we're trying to do some other alternatives. We are having on Wednesday, tomorrow and Thursday from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock Zoom meetings with basically just to talk a little bit about the reopening in each of the buildings. Tomorrow night, the 6th through 12th grade, Ryan and Wendell will be presenting just their reopening plans, with trying to share that information with the parents that choose to join in on that meeting, just to again try to provide some information, and also we will have time where the questions can be asked and try to answer some of the questions that are out there. And again, just mainly trying to keep everyone updated as much as possible in that scenario. So certainly we still have a lot to do yet. We're again, we're working on a daily basis trying to make sure we are well prepared and for the students coming in a few weeks. The one area that I wanted to talk, and Teresa's here to talk a little bit about the virtual program. If you remember, right now we have an in-person part for the PK5 that they'll be coming in 5 days a week. 6-12 are doing the hybrid model, with the AB cohorts planning. And again, the other option that we provided for parents to sign up their children not to come in to school at all and have a virtual option. So I thought I'd maybe just have Teresa talk just briefly about that program. And we did send you a budget for that. There are some added costs because we're using outside teachers, outside agencies to deliver that model, and trying to provide an option for parents for that. That sign up has been ended at this point in time, so we are at our limit at this point in time for that virtual program. So Teresa, if you can kind of just chime in and just talk a little bit about it, and then I'll get the budget thing up on the screen here in a few seconds.
Okay, so you all have a copy of the proposed budget, and that was made prior to the weekend. What you can see are participation numbers as of the cutoff, which was last week, Monday. So that was the 17th of August, and we needed to cut it off at some point so that we could make other decisions and we could start to enroll and register our students in the WVS program, which is our partner in creating Tomahawk Virtual for us this year, which is a learning opportunity, like Mr. Reynolds said, for our students. So you can see Tomahawk Elementary numbers are 39 students. You can also see at the very bottom, I've indicated the breakdown by grade level. So 5K has 5 participants, and you can see that. I don't have to read it to you. Then I have the names of our individuals that will staff Tomahawk Virtual for elementary, and Michelle Toit is going to take the 26 kids that are in K through 3. And Melanie Hansen will work with grades 4 and 5, in which there's 13 total. And then Melanie will continue to do additional teaching duties for us in middle school especially, and in elementary as well. And then if she has time in her schedule, we're hoping she will also help with the new staff member we have teaching Read 180 at the high school. So that rounds out those staff members' schedules to accommodate our elementary students in Tomahawk Virtual. The Tomahawk Middle School students currently, actually I think we're down to 22. So this number was 24. I just talked to Dawn Hughesby, the guidance counselor, and Wendell Quisenberry, the principal, throughout the week, and we have 2 more middle school students coming in. One is moving in from out of the area, and then the other one is rejoining us. So that number will be back up to legitimately 24 once those other students enroll. That all Tomahawk Middle School students at this time are going to be assigned to teachers that have been employed through Wisconsin Virtual School. Then you can see the Tomahawk High School students numbers are 43. And we also have additional numbers below the total number of students. And what those are is lists of enrollment numbers within particular courses that we are purchasing content for some of our Tomahawk teachers based on what they have told us about their experience with online or remote learning, and due to some personnel availability. And so we wanted to provide a consistent experience for those students that were in those courses. So we're purchasing content in which our classroom teachers and or their substitutes will be implementing throughout at least first semester, and as you can see in some cases, if it's in black, it's second semester as well. And then high school English language arts, we have also chosen to purchase content for all of our students in general ed English, partly because of the value that we're placing on literacy going into this time and the consistency of a program that is built for an online platform in this environment. So given the number of students that are in Read 180 or in AP or in an alternative setting for English, this is an estimate of the English, high school English students that will be paying for in that course. So the fact that our teachers are teaching it make it less expensive by far. You can see the cost is just under $300 if a WVS teacher teaches the course, where it's $100 if one of our teachers are teaching the course. So when you look over at column G and you see the total, the unanticipated expenses that will come along with delivering this curriculum are materials costs. It varies by course and it varies by semester. So we don't know what our materials costs will be, what we have on hand, what we can supply families, what families can find around their home, or what we maybe need to purchase for families to complete some of the modules within the courses. So I have a fairly low estimate for materials, but you can see since our numbers are so variable going into second semester, and I think Mr. Reynolds is going to address some other issues that we discussed today as an admin team that are also going to provide some variability in our numbers even as we go into first semester. So I am grateful that the buffer in the budget request was actually high, because that might need to adjust now depending on an influx of students this fall. So any variability in these numbers would obviously cost us more money if they go up. That's a summary of the budget. If you have any particular questions about the delivery that I didn't address or you didn't feel clear on when I presented this last board meeting, feel free to ask me any questions.
Thank you, Lisa. I just wanted to add, Teresa just touched on this a little bit. We are going to anticipate, there will be some children, students that either refuse to wear masks at school or face coverings. And that's, again, it's a state mandated thing that we do have to provide. And also there may be some limitations with physically and some of the IEPs. And so we will be working with those families individually, but certainly we are going to have to mandate that all students that attend the classes here in our buildings have face coverings and will be going outside. They won't have to wear face coverings, et cetera. There'll be some breaks that way, but certainly we may have to offer some other alternatives outside the school to some of those children and families because they can't keep up with that mandate, or they choose not to be part of that mandate. So some of the things that we're talking about, again, that additional remote learning opportunities for those individuals, which ends up impacting our budget overall. So right now, we've been able to fit this portion of it in our current budget, but I do anticipate that there may be a few more dollars. If it's a great deal of dollars, we may have to go to cover some of those costs. And again, we did have a good carryover from last year, and so I don't anticipate an issue with us being able to pay for some of that, but hopefully that everyone will participate here at school and do the face coverings, but we do anticipate some of those issues popping up in the future, and certainly you'll probably hear as a board member from some of those members that's not an option to not wear face coverings at school. Because the bottom line is you do have to make sure all the students here at school and the staff are safe. And again, the three big ones that are important in our schools for in-person meetings is face coverings, social distancing the best that we can, and sanitizing your hands and washing your hands. And that's if we're going to have in-person people and students and staff in the buildings. We have to be able to comply with those situations. So, but anyway, that's the main point. Any questions on that? On the face coverings, so like I said, it'll be somewhat controversial because we've already had some calls, parents calling about getting some medical waivers and stuff. We will sit down with those parents and again try to see what we can do for them, but the bottom line is face coverings will be mandatory.
So Carrie, do they do face masks or the face shield?
Face shields are
They aren't.
not considered
Okay.
that. No, only the face coverings. Face shields can be added for extra protections. In fact, some of our staff and there may be some students that will need to wear some of the face shields, but that might be some things that we can do to mitigate or just briefly, but again, it would need to be something that we would have to work out specifically, and we have to be basically have a pretty hard line on the face coverings just because that it'll just cause a disruption in the school and everybody. It'll be difficult to enforce if we just don't have a hard line.
This is Kathy Schmidt. If the people that are in the auditorium could speak a little louder or more directly into microphones, it would help those of us that are on computers. It's nearly impossible to hear you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Reynolds, I'd like to add that in our discussions today and after what you just described to the board, we thought in fairness, we would go back to those families that inquired about Tomahawk Virtual since the cutoff date until now. And in fairness, we would go back and open up those next slots to those families who still showed interest even past the cutoff, so that they could still enroll their students in Tomahawk Virtual, since there was going to be basically this gateway for other students to still have some service through this purchase curriculum. So I have checked those numbers since our end of the day meeting, and we have 9 additional inquiries from families across our district. So the numbers will go up by that 9 if they're still interested once we make contact. Plus, we're aware already of students that have contacted the district that they won't be wearing masks. So that's an additional 5. So that's 14 that we know will be added already just based on this new change.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy. Any questions on that?
Terry, you had mentioned that you have parent meetings Wednesday and Thursday. You said Wednesday was for 6 to 12. What is Thursday?
Thursdays for the PK5, and it's 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock as well.
Are the board members able to sit on that, or we weren't?
I mean, you can, I'm trying to think. I can probably send you the link.
Yeah. But
It's
sometimes-
open, it's a public thing.
Okay. Because we weren't aware of that. Some of us are were concerned about that.
Sure.
So
The
this-
only, whoops, go ahead.
Sorry, Kathy Schmidt. Terry, I was really struggling to hear your comments about the Zoom meeting for parents this week. Is that strictly informational, sit and get, or is it conversational, brainstorming? Like what will the parents be expecting of these meetings?
This will be a 1-hour presentation, basically an introduction to the reopening plans. Each of the building principals will talk a little bit about their specific areas, what they're doing to prepare, what to expect, and there will be some time that we will have, a question and answer. We'll open up the chat so they can type in their questions, and we'll try to answer it in that time period.
Thanks.
Yep.
The Wi-Fi situation, is that going through, or what is going with the Wi-Fi at the township, at the town halls?
Dean was able to, I think, what was it, Dean? 6 of the townships?
I visited most of the townships that we can get to. One of them we decided we are not going to put one at. One in town, we're not going to put one at because they can come here to the school. Right now, I have 3 of them out at townships that are functioning, but the other ones we're waiting to get some better antennas to see if that works. But of course, like everything, it's back ordered. They have a ship date of the 8th of September, so hopefully we get it just after that. There really isn't any great solutions for internet because, as you know, if you're out in the rural area, I can give you a hotspot and it doesn't mean it's going to work at your house. Satellite doesn't mean it's going to work at your house. So there's no real answer to providing internet for students out in the country. At least these hotspots with these other antennas, I've tried the device in the parking lot and there's only one that has a real issue, and hopefully the other antennas help with that reception. It's probably about the best we can do because even we're having trouble even in that static area where it has somewhat reception providing internet. These town halls don't have internet because they just can't get it. So there's no real great answer. One of the biggest problems now is getting any kind of equipment because every school in the U.S. has equipment ordered, so everything is back ordered. We've ordered some document cameras for the staff, and they were, solid 2 months out. And we ordered them. We started over a month ago ordering them. So it's kind of when we get it, we get it. It just happened. I ordered Chromebooks back in like March. That's why we have them. There's still schools looking for them that can't get them.
And we will continue to search and seek out. I know some of the townships, they're very apprehensive about having anyone in the buildings just because of liability situations and coverages that way. So we're going to continue to work with ideas. I know Ryan and Wento with the the hybrid model, they are looking at having options where times where kids can sign up and go into a certain area on their off days to be able to access inside the building, but there would be limited amount of time for that as well.
Yeah.
So
they
we'll
even-
continue to work at that.
Yeah, they even had me, the town of Wilson and stuff, I shut the internet down on those devices at night because they were worried about people even coming in the parking lot and being there after hours and stuff. So the devices only function between 6 a.m. and 10 at night.
You know, I know it's never going to be ideal. We'll make the best that we can. As you know, whatever we do is going to be better than what we had last spring. But certainly, we'll keep working at it and trying to find out and problem solve and provide some other opportunities. One other area, talk a little bit about the I know the activities, sports programs. That's been in the news a lot. I just wanted to give you an update on that. Garth Gerstenberger, our athletic director, he's been attending different meetings with our conferences. Again, you know, we're in a new football conference, and so we are working with the Great Northern Conference in football. The rest of the conferences, we're in the Great Northern, and basically we are moving forward with all the fall sports as planned. That we're using the WIA schedule for the fall. The cross-country teams and swim teams are practicing right now and getting ready for their activities. That seems to be going very well. The football and volleyball, they'll be starting September 8th and with their seasons and with games going. Now the conference, we are, you know, probably going to have limited attendance at different events and trying to make sure that is, you know, so we can social distance, and so there's going to be some things coming out on that. Of course, if our plans change and we end up going totally remotely every day with everybody, if there's an outbreak, if those seasons are disruptive, if they have not, the new WA rules for this year is that if they don't get in 50% of their season, then they can do the fall sports in the spring, because they have shortened the winter season starting late November. That ends in February, and then March and April would be for any schools that wanted to have their fall sports in the spring, and then they're pushing back the regular spring sports to be in May and June. So a lot of variables there, but our plan right now is to continue and with the limited capacity with the sports that go on. They'll be just playing conference games and teams and trying to limit the attendance and providing that opportunity. Any questions? You know, the one thing, you know, that I really want to emphasize, and again, I am trying to say this everywhere I go. I said it on the radio program on WJJQ, and you know, it's so important that if we want these activities, we want school to the in-person attendance here at school, everybody has to do their part. They have to sacrifice a few things, and they need to wear their face masks, and they need to social distance as much as possible. They need to wash their hands and just play by the rules. If everybody does that, we'll probably be able to be successful and do some of those things. Nobody likes it, and certainly none of us do. So, but again, we just all have to do our part.
Totally. Any other questions from the board regarding the opening, the planning, the COVID opening?
Kathy Schmidt. Terry, I apologize. Okay, sorry, it bumped out. I apologize if I'm asking a question that you've already answered. I was struggling to hear. The woman at the beginning during public comment made the suggestion, something about going into the town halls where those boosters were being put. And I thought I heard you start talking about that, but I missed what you said in response to that, that there was an insurance issue. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, well, Dean, with his going into the different things, we've had discussions with the townships, and many of the townships indicated that they're not real willing to open their doors to that just because of the liability situation of it, and the presence of people when it's it's their facility. So, but again, we are going to continue to try to look at that as an option or different options for the students in those situations.
Thanks.
Okay, no further questions. Moving on to item 11, the school board, we did tours of the Nokomis area school for us, and also tonight, four of us went behind the school at Pine Hills. I think a lot of us were enlightened by what opportunities are out there and impressed by it. And I guess I'm gonna just open this up to going around the table. What you have to say. Dick, you have a lot of input about forest. You work with the Tree Haven. You see opportunities out there. You like that bench out there.
So we can't hear what's being said in the auditorium.
Yep.
You might. Oh, okay.
I'll repeat quickly. I think I would like to, we have a great asset in our school forest, particularly the forest that is adjacent to the school property. We took a tour of that this evening. It's quite impressive from an ecology standpoint. It has a tremendous number of different applications, educational uses, from ponds to prairie-like grass to timber, not just from a science standpoint, but there were some beautiful picturesque paintings that I saw this evening. There were some deer that were there on the property. That sort of thing, and so I see it as a great asset. I think my recommendation would be as a board member that using the 5 pillars that we would dissect or take apart the different aspects of what it would take to have a school forest program in place that would be dynamic, that would address not just our science needs, but across our fine arts needs as well. And look at perhaps developing a 3 to 5 year plan. I don't think tomorrow there is the potential to, see it fully developed. It needs facilities, it needs a curriculum, it needs trained staff in that curriculum, it needs a willingness on the part of the district to use it effectively. So although I'm not saying tomorrow there couldn't be a class out there, what I am saying is I think if we as a district are going to have an effective school, use our school forest properties effectively, particularly the one adjacent to the school, we need to look at our strategic plan, the 5 pillars. We need to place under each pillar those goals and objectives that relate to that pillar, and in I'm going to say 3 years, be proud of the fact that we have a functioning, fully functioning school forest program. We probably need to hire as a district a school forest, I'm not what the word would be, administrator, whose full-time job would be to help, assist, provide direction so that the district not only creates it, but maintains it over time.
Thank you, Dick. I know when we were out at Nokomis, Kathy, you were quite energetic. Is that the word I can use? Do you want
Sure.
to comment? Did you comment that Kathy was willing to look into some things?
Yes. I called Gretchen Marshall from UW Stevens Point, who is in charge of the LEAF program, LEAF. It's not an acronym. It's meant to just be called the LEAF program, and their whole purpose is to help school districts with their school forests. She said some key phrases that caught me completely. The first thing she said was, "We can offer relief to your teachers and do programming with you." And I loved that, because our teachers do need relief. If we want them to be excited about school forest stuff, we have to make it palatable and not necessarily easy to do, but she really stressed baby steps, how important biting off small pieces one at a time, how important that is. They also do foundational planning with the school district. And what she asked for is a group of administrators, teachers, and board members, as people are interested, a half a day to tour the sites, to make some decisions and do brainstorming together. I thought that was really, a lot of the things she said around the foundational planning was insightful, and certainly fits, Dick, with what you're talking about, the 5 pillars. How do you build those foundations into what we already have in place for goals? It's really important to this group to look at scope and sequence, so that if a first grade teacher takes her children out and does something one year, and a third grade teacher takes his kids out a few years later, they don't say, well, we did that when we were in first grade. That there's a continuum of programming, and they help with all of that, as well as the curriculum for the grade levels. She talked about, I asked if there were any school districts in the state that used, kind of those, like a premier building trades class that helped with the school forest. And she said that actually most school forests in the state got their buildings through their buildings trades classes, or their building classes within their schools. And Terry, she highlighted you and Pittsville, and an amazing job that Pittsville did with theirs. Timber frame construction of a piece with lumber right off the property. So she just brainstormed on, and is real excited for us. But she did ask that our first step be to register the school site, the school forest that's right behind the school, because that one is not yet registered with the state. So she said if that could be our first step, we'd be headed in the right direction. But certainly a place that we should start a partnership with.
I also think we have available to us the Tree Haven group, which are very close to us here. They have any ecologists, they have a naturalist, they have a forest management individual, and we already go out there with our 4th graders and work on a program. Along with what you've said, Kathy, which I agree, it's wonderful to have the state coordinator at UWSP so close to us, who can work with us. I also think a great resource for us could be some of the staff that's out at Tree Haven as well, because they're close and obviously qualified to work with us. My only concern would be that we make sure that we don't create a separate school forest plan that's outside of our strategic plan. I think we need to keep the school forest plan within our strategic plan. And all our goals and objectives need to fall under one of the pillars of that plan, so that it's not something separate from what we're doing as a district, but it's integrated into what we're doing as a district.
Definitely. Deb, do you have any comments?
Not, that was well put, Kathy and Dick, both of you. It generated a lot of excitement for me. I just saw potential, and why not? It was interesting. I'm basically excited. I think that's a gem. I guess Harlan is going to, can't hear me, Kathy?
No, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I don't know what to do about that.
There, that we heard.
Okay, well, Arland is working with a DNR too. He and Mike have called them, and they're going to work with them on looking at the timber on the other properties, things like that. But I just see potential.
Dave, any comments from when you're out there? Okay. And Sherry or Kathy, or Sherry's out there? You worked on the project, Terry?
There's a lot of potential in the programs, and the school forest program can be very exciting. I've worked in a couple of districts that had very good programs, but it always, the key is you have to have staff members that are just as energized. I mean, really, the successful program is going to be whether the staff wants to use it and see the needs for the use it. And so usually, in order to get this started, it needs somebody within the staff that's say, hey, I really want to think this is great, and let's do this and let's do that, and then we can kind of build on that. But it isn't something that you can really force through, but you can gain that momentum by having that energy person inside. And certainly having a paid position to run the facility and everything else is great. And if you can do that down the road, that'll help sustain it.
Mm-hmm.
Ron, do you have any comments?
No, I don't have a whole lot to add. I do agree with what Dick was saying and Terry was saying. I think at some point, to make it successful, we're going to need an individual to be involved with it. If we just lay it out there to everyone, nothing will happen. But obviously, I think there is a lot of potential. I know I see a lot of it is it says environmental education, stuff like that. But I think all of the different curriculum, or all of the different subject matters can get involved in things. And I know that Tree Haven would help a lot. I would also suggest that the tech schools could get involved with some of this stuff too. I think they could add some value to it too. But I think the key to it is getting that one person excited, or have somebody directly involved with it. And I agree with what everybody's been saying. It has to be in line with our strategic plan.
I also want to mention on the Pine Hill property that's adjacent to the school, we took our tour in a van. It's very accessible from a disability standpoint, not implying that there might not be improvements. I'm not an expert with that thought process, but this school forest, as I said, we saw all aspects of the forest riding in a 6-passenger van on a very improved road. So that's the neat part about property that's adjacent, is that you could not be in a vehicle if you chose to, because the cross-country team runs the trails out there. They're improved. It's a great road network. It's more than a trail network. It's a road network, and with perhaps in a few areas it would need some improvement. But I think that's hopeful in the area that We might build a facility if that would be important, and I think that would be important to us, build some sort of facility. Again, very disabilities accessible. It's not a property that's, you know, out in the boonies somewhere, and there's no ability to, for every person who in our district to be able to benefit from the property.
Jeffrey, you know I'm not going to ignore you.
About the future of the school forest. When I was in school, I loved going out to both the school forests, the one in the Comus and the one behind the school. They were probably the best educational experiences I had in science. And not even just science, we'd go out there for, you know, art and all that. They were my favorite days of going to those classes, was going outside to see the wildlife out there.
Thank you. I think there's some energy, something that we can look forward to the future to get out of this COVID cloud that's hanging over us, that we can start planning if there's somebody out there truly interested. We have resources out there, we have availability for it. So it's just something for us, like Kathy said, maybe the first step is just making sure that the Pine Hills is registered as a school forest, and we see what happens from there. I don't know who would you be responsible? Would Sandy, where would that go through? Or building? Yeah. Oh, you're right. Who was the person, Kathy, you said? That person from Leaf? You're on mute, Kathy.
Sorry, Gretchen Marshall.
Yeah, I know. Gretchen, I can contact her because I've had contact with her before with different grants and stuff.
Well, I thank everybody for their time, for going out for the tour. It was a few mosquitoes, but we made it. We made it through. Terry, I have to apologize. I skipped over the item on the waiver update.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that in that process. And really, that waiver, I just wanted to give you an idea that the DPI is being very flexible with some of the waivers. You know, we will be looking at probably some waivers with the minutes of instruction based on what occurs throughout the school year, and also the educator effectiveness portion of it. But they are making it fairly easy. We can apply for that at any point during the school year. But again, I just wanted to give you a little bit of information with that, with the notice that we received.
Thank you. That takes us to item 12, public comments. Opening it up if there's any public comments regarding any items that we discussed tonight. I guess I'd like to thank Mike and Arlen for taking us on the tours of the different school forests and giving us some information on that too. I don't see any public comments out there or hear any. Moving on to board referrals. Board referrals, if the city would like to make some comments, referrals for future meetings. I'd like to open that at this time on item 13. I guess maybe my referral would be is to have Kathy Schmidt keep working on EW Stevens Point and just see what there is out there to do some planning. There's a smile.
Happily.
Okay.
Yes.
No further comments? Make a motion, we adjourn the meeting. Or I adjourn the meeting. You can do that.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Kay.